Shout out to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Hey guys, Spirit of the Law here. In this unique unit deep dive, we're going to look at the Way's Tiger Cavalry. This is a very specialized unit that makes a lot of sense within the overall design of Wei as a cavalry civilization, and has a complementary while also contrasting role with their Heguang at the stable. To start with the unit at a glance, next to a knight for some perspective, they're almost identical in cost, with just an extra 5 gold per unit for Tiger Cavalry, but then train in half the time to reflect the fact they're created at the castle instead of stables. Stats-wise, there's a bit of give and take, with the Tiger Cavalry having more HP and 1 more attack, but a bit slower attack rate, and most importantly, swap 2 of the knight's melee armor for 2 extra pierce armor. Right away, it's easy to see the Tiger Cavalry is going to be an extra anti-archer variation of the knight, as archer units typically have somewhere in the ballpark of 7 or 8 attack in Castle Age after Bodkin Arrow, so going from 4 to 6 pierce armor massively cuts down on the damage they'll take in a lot of matchups, obviously at the expense of melee armor. Maybe even more important than how they compare to the knight though, we have to think about the options the Wei have specifically, which is their own regional variant of the knight called Heguang Cavalry. The big thing to note is that Heguang have 4 base melee armor, so they're clearly your anti-melee specialist, though their HP is actually quite low in comparison, even after Wei have an extra HP bonus for their Heguang to begin with. The two units actually end up being much more similar in melee performance than their armor implies, once HP factors in, but clearly Tiger Cavalry are the better choice against anything ranged, which is then further reinforced by bonus damage. In addition to 4 base pierce armor, Tiger Cavalry also have +6 bonus damage against archers, and another +2 against siege. That ties Huskarls for the largest anti-archer bonus in Castle Age, so everything about Tiger Cavalry just screams anti-archer. Of course, by archer, I technically mean archer armor, which applies to everything from skirmishers to cavalry and elephant archers, as well as grenadiers, hand cannons, war wagons, and slingers. It's a very broad definition of the word. So those are the basics, but Tiger Cavalry then throw in an extra twist with a unique ability, gaining +1 attack and +10 HP after every unit they deal the final blow against, up to a maximum of +4. If that sounds a little familiar, the Jaguar Warrior has the same bonus for their attack, though Tiger Cavalry go a step further, gaining HP as well. That doesn't just raise the cap on their HP by 10, but also heals HP at the same time, regardless of how much damage they've taken. For the first time ever, we're going to see testing where they come out of a fight with more HP collectively than they started with. Obviously, this means healing Tiger Cavalry after a fight is an extra good idea to keep those veteran units, as even just +1 or +2 attack on some Tiger Cavalry for the next fight can have a shockingly large impact. Against elite skirmishers with +2 armor for example, Tiger Cavalry start out by needing 3 hits to defeat one, but after just 1 kill, elite skirmishers start to go down in just 2 hits. So it essentially acts like a +50% attack boost. Since crossbows have the same HP and armor, that's true for them as well, and things can quickly snowball after just that first one goes down. The math happens to line up to do a similar thing against cavalry archers with all their upgrades, this time going from 5 to 4 attacks, and even more broadly, against basically all high HP units with knights as an example, you're going to see them go down in progressively fewer hits as a Tiger Cavalry powers up. The fact they're also gaining HP after each victory means unlike Jaguar Warriors, the most veteran units feel like they're going to hang on a bit longer, and you're more likely to see some of those +2 and +3 attack units live long enough to emerge. This is all the unit in theory though, and now let's see them in action with some testing. First, let's check them out against the Heguang from the stable, which remember had 4 more melee armor by default. Interestingly, one-on-one, the fight is actually very close, which just comes down to the Tiger Cavalry having significantly more HP. But something else to keep in mind is the Heguang is also 10 resources cheaper and created at the stable. So the fact it's winning one-on-one means in the long run it is the more effective melee unit. Given the Heguang is pretty similar in strength to a knight, it's maybe not surprising that the Tiger Cavalry then also ends up just a step behind those one-on-one. And extending that to a larger scale, they end up trading basically even with a generic knight. Tiger Cavalry are a little more expensive and require castles, but even down 2 melee armor, their ability plus higher HP let them keep up reasonably well. Of course, they lose to knights with a good bonus, but as a primarily anti-archer unit, they can still fight in melee in a pinch. On the other hand, if you have a group that's leveled up a bit and then fully healed, without any visual indication, they can suddenly start to stand up to knights, which makes it difficult to predict how a fight is going to go just by visual inspection in real time. One matchup I thought they might be able to win because of their special ability was in against longswords, just given every defeated unit is simultaneously healing and pumping up the Tiger Cavalry's attack. But with balanced resources, they end up losing anyway. So they just seem like an okay, but not amazing melee unit, which is perfectly fine, as this is supposed to be the anti-archer complement to He Guang. Of course, we have to look at how they hold up against crossbows as a benchmark archer unit, where I predict they're even better than you're probably expecting. With all Castle Age upgrades, where Light Cavalry takes 27 bolts and He Guang takes 40 or 45 for Wei with their Civ bonus, which is exactly in line with a Knight having +2/+2 armor, the Tiger Cavalry starts out better than a fully upgraded Knight, even without armor. But after +2/+2 armor can take an incredible 135 shots. Keep in mind a battering ram takes 175 arrows for reference, so this is pretty crazy. Of course, they then turn around and deal +6 anti-archer bonus damage as well. So with balanced resources and micro, it's really not a fun time with crossbows. And if they can take out even one Tiger Cavalry, they'll probably be celebrating. Remember, as soon as a Tiger Cavalry lands the final blow against a crossbow or any other unit, they heal 10 HP, and from then on only need 2 attacks against crossbows instead of 3, so they really snowball like crazy. Just to touch on skirmishers briefly, here their relative advantage isn't quite as large, as everything here takes just 1 damage per javelin, but the Tiger Cavalry's higher HP still makes them the best of the bunch. Just out of curiosity, I threw a small group into a pile of elite skirmishers, and despite one unlucky Tiger Cavalry being focused down, adding up their HP afterwards, the Tiger Cavalry collectively ended up with 105% of their starting HP left over, even accounting for the one that was lost, which is something that has never happened in a test before. Even cavalry archers and scorpions can be in a tough spot, with Tiger Cavalry taking in the ballpark of double the He Guang's number of hits and many more than a knight, while also having +6 bonus damage against the cavalry archer, and remember +2 against siege. So it's really not just archers, but instead all ranged units that seem to struggle against Tiger Cavalry. It's really a testament to how hard Castle Age units are to mass, or how much Tiger Cavalry are being overlooked by players when you consider Wei have been a bottom 3 civilization since release, despite having what appears to be a very solid counter to civilizations that rely on ranged units. Now though, let's talk about the Imperial Age, where at least on paper, things take a pretty hard turn. Not necessarily in a bad way, but their upgrades do push them in a slightly different direction. To start with their elite upgrade, it's 1,000 food and 800 gold, giving them +2 attack, +15 HP, and +1 pierce armor, as well as quietly bumping their +6 against archers to +7. It's a price that lands between a cavalier and a full paladin transition, with an effect size that feels like it splits the difference, so that part is pretty straightforward. The wrinkle is that Wei lack the final cavalry armor upgrade at the blacksmith, and instead have unique tech giving their mounted units +4 melee armor. Not only does this suddenly turn them into a slightly more expensive unit to upgrade than teching to paladin, but notice it's their melee armor that's improved 4 times as much as their pierce armor. To see how the numbers settle, compared to the Wei's He Guang cavalry, they still keep their anti-archer specialty, with 7 pierce armor compared to 5, and their anti-archer bonus, while He Guang end with 10 melee armor compared to the elite Tiger Cavalry's 6, so that anti-archer versus anti-melee comparison still feels appropriate. What's interesting though is if we look at a paladin, the paladin has more HP and the same pierce armor as a Tiger Cavalry, whereas it's the Tiger Cavalry that has more melee armor, so things feel a little shaken up in Imperial. Now, a heavy cavalry unit with a bonus against archers, less HP than a paladin, and more melee armor actually sounds a lot like another unit though, and calls back to the Savar for the Persians, and maybe gives us a sense of what to expect out of elite Tiger Cavalry. To play around with where it lands exactly within the heavy cavalry hierarchy, of course they lose head-to-head to the Wei's heavy He Guang, which is actually very cheap to upgrade in Imperial, and also benefits from the unique tech. It's clearly still your melee specialist, and 10 melee armor is seriously no joke, though neither is the Tiger Cavalry's 6 melee armor for that matter. If we switch to Cavaliers, the elite Tiger Cavalry shows it's still a decent melee unit, and actually wins that fight with balanced numbers. You might say the Cavalier has an advantage for being 5 gold cheaper, having a cheaper upgrade, and only needing stables, but given how much more versatile the Tiger Cavalry is against anything ranged, I think the Tiger Cavalry is just straight up a much better unit. That said, a good Cavalier civilization like Malians for instance pretty easily win in melee. Of course, the unit I really like as a comparison is the Savar, and checking that quickly, they also beat Tiger Cavalry head-to-head, even if I also throw in the Wei's Hero, giving them a plus 10% attack speed boost. Even generic paladins would then win by extension, as they're even stronger. So we'll say Tiger Cavalry aren't particularly great in melee among their peers, but now let's see how they hold up against their specialty with ranged units. This is where their lack of the final armor upgrade actually hurts more than you might think. Where Wei Hazard takes 16 Arbalaster shots, the heavy Haegwang brings that up to 28, compared to even a generic Cavalier with 35. So the Wei late game clearly has some trouble against archers. Elite Tiger Cavalry obviously improve on that to 50 shots, but still lose out to fully upgraded Paladins at 60, and especially the Savar at 83. Of course, they still have their anti-archer bonus, which lets them take out archers in 2 attacks instead of 3 for Paladin and Savar. Plus, there's the healing effect they gain from combat, so against a group of archers, Elite Tiger Cavalry are probably the best out of the 3. The main thing, coming back to the wider context of Wei though, is they're still your best option against ranged units, considering your stable and lack of the final armor upgrade. One unit they pair naturally with is the Wei's Xianbei Raider, which is a double gold unit composition, but gives you some very nice mobility. The Tiger Cavalry doesn't have much going for it against infantry, which Xianbei can help you handle, while in return, Xianbei die to archers, skirmishers, and siege, so the two have quite a bit of synergy. Likewise, you can just play off the old reliable Knight and Skirm combo, but subbing in Tiger Cavalry for Knights. It's sort of a doubling up on archer counters, but the skirmishers are primarily there to add something anti-spear, as they deal bonus damage against those. The Wei actually have pretty decent siege options as well, with discounted traction trebuchets, and Tiger Cavalry aren't especially anti-building, so you want to support them with some siege to round things out. Now, something interesting I can't help but notice is the 2 units with increasing damage over time are the Jaguar Warrior and Tiger Cavalry, so the bonus has a bit of an overt cat theme. The only way to make sure your own cat at home doesn't get progressively more dangerous as well is to regularly trim its claws, which is just the service I offer in my business, Spirit of the Claw. Book a consultation today through a great website I made with this video's sponsor, Squarespace. Squarespace is the all-in-one website platform for entrepreneurs to stand out and succeed online. Whether you're just starting or managing a growing brand, Squarespace makes it easy to create a great-looking website, engage with your audience, and then sell anything from products to content to time, all in one place. Using either their pre-made templates or Squarespace's AI-enhanced website builder, you can create a fully customized website to suit your needs. It's perfect for building an online presence for a physical business or starting an online store using their built-in tools for inventory and shipping, with plenty of analytics to give you insight about your website's traffic and sales. Go to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/spirit of the law to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. So that's a look at the Wei's Tiger Cavalry. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.